Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Snowbirds meeting room. This is going to be our live, or our first live stream for the podcast. So we've been doing these episodes on the channel with the same name, the Snowbirds meeting room, which you can see in the link in the description below. Definitely go check it out and subscribe if you're into the whole Star Citizen podcast thing. So yeah, this is kind of a test to see how this goes as well for our first live. From now on, these episodes are going to be on the actual Snowbirds Meeting Room YouTube channel. And with that, today we are going to be talking about the Lorville Rework and derelicts and locations that were talked about for 3.19. And yeah, so this is kind of a revolving around topics that are in the ISCs and the Star Citizen Lives each week. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our fine gentleman over here. So we have Shadow Spectre 11 with the Snowbirds. I also have his channel in the link in the description below. And then we have King Payne with the Imperial Logistics. And then we have Zook Zemimi with the Free People of the Verse. Before we get into these main topics, we're going to talk about, we have this thing called the Ship of the Week where we kind of just focus on one specific ship or series of ships. And this will be hosted by King Payne. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away there, King.
Hey, thanks. I just want to make sure everybody's rock and roll today, having a good day. Awesome. All right. So the ship we're going to talk about today is the Avenger Titan series. And to remind everybody, we're starting on the low end of the spectrum. We went through the Aurora, and we went through the Cutter, and now we're going to talk about the Stalker Avengers and the variants of the Avenger. So the Avengers in the $60 range, and there's four. There is the Stalker, the Warlock, the Titan, Titan Renegade. Titan Renegade and Titan are pretty much the same ship. The Avenger was designed and created to be kind of a frontline carrier for the military, and this is specifically the Stalker. And eventually it became the prisoner transport. So if you get into an Avenger Stalker, if you walk in, you'll see coffins lining up the back end to where you can actually arrest and put people in there. Outside that, the standard Avenger Titan has more of the cargo that you can carry with. It's like boxes. Don't think too much because you're not really going to carry anything with it. It's a pretty decent combat ship for its size, I would argue. You can go pretty quick too. The Warlock is a EMP generation ship. So basically what it's designed to do is it's designed to shut down another ship that you're hunting. And the Renegade's pretty much the description of it is a flight submarine commander. The Renegade pays tribute to a certain pilot named Danny Solomon for his notable work with the advocacy and to bring justice to Bremen. And my wife's yelling at it. So It's the Titan Renegades technically classifies light freight right now, but I think they're gonna end up swapping that over to a no, it's gonna stay light freight. Okay. So yeah. Uh who is the Titan good for? I think this is the most important question. The Titan is a good ship for combat over and a step up away from the and a step up away from the Mustangs. If you want decent combat, you want to be able to land a ship anywhere, say if you do a cave mission, for example, or you want to move boxes, and you want a ship that has a bed. The Avenger Titan's the one you want. It's excellent. It does a great job of what it does. It's got a nose mounted gun. It has rear exit, and I believe you can get it on the side as well, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
No, you can't.
It's true.
No.
No, you can't.
It's
can't.
cockpit, and rear.
Yeah, that's what I said. Cockpit and rear. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, my bad. Cockpit and rear, yeah, which is great. We want our ships to have multiple entrances and exits. We don't want one way in, one way
MSR.
out.
You had to say it.
So
it's true.
It is true.
It is true. I like the Titans. I think they're great ships. I think if you're gonna spend $60 on the game, that's the ship to go for because it lets you do a lot more than just cargo hauling and not flying an Aurora. Let's move on here. Anything but the Aurora, right there, Shadow?
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask the room. Zook, how do you feel about the Avenger Titan?
I don't really have any strong feelings for it either way. It's probably one of the better starter ships at the moment. But you know me, I like to look future proof it. What is this ship's role in the universe at launch that I can best estimate based on what we know now. I see this as being almost a low level bounty hunter, like a low threat bounty hunting ship. Regardless of what version you have, I could see this being a sort of a renegade pilot, somebody who's not a org member, somebody who's a very independent pilot exploring the universe. It has the basic amenities: a bed, a place to be, storage capacity. You can do just about anything with this game, including basic storage run, along with some pretty decent combat if you're a decent pilot at it.
Yeah.
But the problem is it is kind of expensive in game. So
yeah.
Jorgs generally may or may not buy this ship for their members, depending upon how much they like that org member. And then on top of that, because it's a little bit pricey, the insurance will be a little higher than not. So I could definitely see this being for those individual pilots that are flying by themselves. This could be potentially a good pilot or a good ship to go into Pyro with for a lower level, entry level person. And being able to not just survive but thrive. But you won't do more than that. If you want to do anything more complex than one-off missions, one-off bounties, that kind of thing, you're going to have a hard time, with the exception of the Warlock. With its EMP generator, with its ability to get in small, tight places, to maneuver quickly, to slow down quickly, like it has, the EMP generator for it could be very effective in pirating. But other than that, it's almost everything it does. There are other ships in its class that does it better. So if any player was looking, especially orgs, were looking to min-max a particular activity, they would generally pick other ships over the Titan. Oh, sorry, over the Avenger. Right. So that's why I'm saying the Avengers are really good for solo, for non-world pilots, to pilots that are just doing their own thing. Once you start getting into group activities, org activities, unless you're using the Warlock for EMP, you're probably picking other ships.
Okay. All right. Hey, Shadow. Thanks, Zook. Hey, Shadow. So, do you like the Titan? And what do you think its biggest hangup is?
I had a Titan. I bought one, and I ended up melting it because of the fact that it wasn't my cup of tea at the time. Because I was learning more cargo running and different things of that nature, and I went to a higher grade of ship, which was the Freelancer Max. But the Titan I consider a very, very valuable starter ship. Just above the Cutter. The Cutter is a great starter at this point. But the Cutter is just below the Titan.
Is it because of the price, or is it something else?
Because the Titan is more of a multi-role ship than the Cutter is. The Cutter doesn't have the firepower to maintain itself that well in combat.
So you said that you prefer the Cutter over the Avenger.
No, no, I
I'm
prefer
sorry, I misunderstood.
the Titan over the Cutter. But the Cutter is a good starter ship just entering the game. The Titan is an upgrade.
Okay.
Sorry.
So as a I don't see a drawback in the ship at this point in time.
Okay.
You can put a vehicle inside the Titan.
Very
You can-
carefully.
Yeah. The only thing you can get in there is a PTV.
I never even
Yeah.
thought of that, honestly. You can really get a PTV in there?
Yes.
I just, my
You
brain
can't
automatically
get out
shut
of the
off any
seats.
possibility of anything fitting in there. So
I
my
have
brain,
a
I'm a little blown
video.
away right now.
I
Hey,
made a
hang
video
on.
of it when I first started.
Did you
And I
really?
put a
You can put it in
yes.
there,
I
but
put a
you can't
PTV
get out of
in
the
it.
seat. You can't
Yes,
get out
you
of the
can.
seat.
No.
Yes, you can.
Oh, can you? Oh,
Yes.
wow.
I did it.
All right.
So go
So
ahead.
I got a question. So when you get out of the seat, do you get like smashed up against the wall and have to like wiggle your way out, or does it like set you in front or behind?
Got a
No,
crouch
it
jump.
sets you to the side. You have to pull the vehicle close to one side of the bay.
Oh, okay. So you had to be real tight.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta
But
try this now.
I did it. And there's a video of it when I first started. So
That's awesome. That is so cool.
so you can carry a vehicle in there. It's just you're just not going to get a STV or anything like that in there.
With
I
the,
got an
So-
Apoa Nox in there.
Yeah. The Nox I think will fit. The Dragonfly is tight.
Yeah, the Nox barely fits. Like you can definitely whack your head when you put it in or take it out. You just like dunk dunk.
Right.
get incapacitated.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that's
Yeah.
where you do have a very, very that's where it becomes major multi-role. It can be the explorer, it can be the bounty hunter, it can be the cargo hauler. So you do have options with that ship. Now the variants, that's where you're going to have a problem because they're specialized.
Mhm.
So overall, the Titan is a step up from the Cutter.
Okay.
And that's what I got on that.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Thank you guys, both of you. Joe, are you for or against the Titan? And where do you think any one of the variants will surprise the verse when we get master modes?
Master modes. Wow. Okay. I honestly,
He snuck that in there, didn't he?
I don't know how. I honestly don't know. I never thought of that on how the Titans will affect the verse with master modes. But I mean, to go to your other question, I'm for it. I still use the Titan today, mainly as like a if I'm just getting in game and I need to get somewhere quick, and if I don't have anything or if I don't have anything claimed, I'll take out the Titan. I feel pretty safe in that thing. I feel like I do pretty good with defending myself in it. So usually when it comes to any sort of small ship like that, I'm pretty comfortable with the Titan as far as defending myself over a lot of the other small ships. So, but yeah, as far as your other one about master modes and how Titan will, I mean, of course the MP will have a role, when master modes come out, with having to do with interdicting players and the whole bounty hunting thing coming hopefully this year sometime. But yeah, on how it impacts it, I don't know. I haven't thought a lot about the master modes, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I guess I'm waiting for more information as it comes out,
Sure thing. I thought I was going to pull sneaky on you. All right. Well, for myself, I think the Titan is fantastic. I would argue that the three starter ships of this game is the Pisces, the Avengers, or the Cutter. Those are the best three starter ships of this game. That's my opinion. And to answer the question for, I think its weakest thing is, well, just simply the fact that there's a lot of other ships that can outclass it pretty fast. And then I also think that its greatest strength is its versatility. As Shadow pointed out, actually, it is a step up from the Cutter. The Cutter's great for just like getting into the game and learning it and just having a good shuttle, a bigger shuttle than say a Pisces. And I think that it's going to actually surprise a lot of people, kind of like with the Warlock. When Master Modes hits, my thought is, and to be clear, I have no idea if this is going to be true or not. My thought is it's going to be a much better defensive ship than people give it credit for. I think it's going to do very well at defending, say, a larger ship, say, for argument's sake, we'll just say a Kraken. I think it's going to produce a pretty decent light fighter role. Probably not the best. I think it will get outclassed, like I said, say like a Glady or an Arrow, but I think it'd do good, say, against the Cutter. So,
is there anything that you see it doing better than anything else? Any singular activity that you see it not being outclassed by anything else?
I think that the Stalker will outclass other ships that are intended to arrest people. I think that you can probably make more money the Stalker bounty hunting NPCs especially than say a Hawk.
Agreed.
Because the Hawk, you get one bad guy to arrest. But with the Stalker, you get 6, I believe. 6 bounties you can capture.
I believe so.
It might be 4 or 6. I can't quite remember. It's been a hot minute since I've been in one.
Either way, it's more than one.
Yeah. So that's how I feel upon that one. So with that being said, thanks for listening to the Ship of the Week, and I'm going to hand this over to Joe to continue on.
All right. So our first topic after that is Derelicts in 3.19. So to kind of give, I guess, a little bit of overview of kind of like the interesting things that they've said during the ISC when talking about the Derelicts and stuff, to kind of go along with these questions to kind of keep in your mind is something that surprised me was that we saw they actually had NPCs working at these habs in the background. Like they actually had the bartender there, They said that essentially what they're doing now is they've finished their asset library when it comes to derelicts and all these, putting them in different locations. They can kind of mix and match, I guess it's kind of like a skin. You know, they take one skin off, put another one on, put them in different configurations. So along with that, you know, they're looking to put them on other moons and planets. So they showed some concept of them being in snow and like jungle environments. And yeah, now that they also got done with making their library, they can focus on making the habs and putting NPCs in there and kind of fleshing them out a little bit more. And they could just focus on putting them on places instead of actually making the assets. So that's going to save them time as well. And kind of the first question I wanted to ask you guys about it was, in the current state with Derelicts, how do you guys feel they're at right now? What's your overall kind of just feeling about it, starting with Shadow?
Derelicts are giving us content more and more each time that Turbulent throws something out. I mean, in 2022, they said, okay, we're working on this. Okay. 6 months later, it dropped. That was the Reclaimer mission. And then the Space Reclaimers and things like that. Then here we come to another, and okay, we're going into 3.18. They're dropping 40 different derelicts. That's quick. That's super fast. So they're pushing stuff out that's pretty intense, and I'm for it. They're giving us content. They're giving us things that we can do. They're giving us missions. I would like to see a full mission from Turbulent. I mean, from start to finish, not just a derelict, but a start to finish mission. Just to see what they can do. But I'm fine with them.
Okay.
They're doing a great job.
King, what are your thoughts on the current implementation of Derelicts and how they are right now?
So, how they are at the current moment in 3.17.5?
3.18.
And 3.18?
Yeah, we'll talk about 3.18.
I love them. Okay, we'll stick on the 3.18 train. Yeah, so in 3.18, I think they're phenomenal. Like, I'm going to kind of back up what Shadow said. Turbulent came in and gave us something that was a little bit more fat on the meat and potatoes that I've been always arguing for. They gave us things to explore. Like, you can actually go in the iterations of these things have gotten really good too. In 3.18, as a matter of fact, I've visited some derelicts, especially the ones that the 600i and MSR.
Yes.
The way they made them feel as if they were part of the world and stuff like that. Like the 600i, you could tell was definitely taken over and then modified to be a living quarter for somebody. And It was amazing. I can only say this, that Turbulent is doing a fantastic job, and if the current iteration is any indication of what's to come, I'm very excited. I'm very happy with what they've done. Turbulent's my favorite. I want to get a t-shirt.
I think they'd sell out pretty fast if they were in the store. I think people would definitely buy them up.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, Zook, how about you? Your current feelings on the 3.18 derelicts as they are now?
Very mixed. On one hand, Shadow's right. We're getting a lot of derelicts, and they're producing them very, very quickly at a very high level of fidelity. And just for the record, I'm including derelict outposts along with derelict ships.
Yes.
For a point of
all of those
reference
are included. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very impressive what they're doing and at the rate of speed that they're doing them in. And you can tell that the pipeline that they're building, not just for the ships, but the pipeline, sorry, not just for the outposts themselves, but the pipeline that they're using to make them are becoming a lot more efficient, and it's really coming into its own. My concern, and maybe this is a little bit too early, but my instinctual reaction is, while they're fun to explore and they're really nice to have, just like the bunkers, how many bunkers can you go to before they start getting repetitive or samey? So even if they have 500 of these derelict outposts and ships, Stanton, in every star system, on every moon, how many of them will you want to visit before it just gets boring? What I want to see, and I hope they are moving towards it, is they need to have content there, a reason to go there other than to explore.
Mm-hmm.
I want an NPC there that if I am friendly, like if I'm friendly with a criminal faction, that I'm welcome there. I won't be shot on sight, and that I could get potentially missions from. I want to have a trade person there that, hey, they need supplies, they need food and water just like anyone else, right? I want to be able to sell them food and water because I'm a trader, and they are willing to pay extra because they're living on the fringe of society, right? I want to be able to sit there and say, I see an outpost. That's an opportunity for gameplay, other than kill bad guys and explore outposts and loot, right? Otherwise, a derelict ship or derelict outpost is just another dungeon. And if it's
Mhm.
just another dungeon, I'm just not seeing the extra content that would make it different from each other.
Well, to say something on that, Duke, I agree with you. I don't want it to be so repetitive that I don't want to go see it again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I hope that they do this, that they put mission givers at each one. So, like you say, with the factions and things like that, that's going to be awesome if they do that.
The
It's gonna make a big difference.
yeah, they're definitely. I mean, they're already doing it with like Pyro. We kind of seen them in some of their videos for Pyro, where there's going to be a certain group of people kind of that has taken over whichever outpost or derelict it is, and so I mean, there very well could be. You approach it, and they're going to respond according to your rep. And that kind of goes into missions that you could possibly get from anybody down there, or affects the mission that you're currently doing, depending on your rep. So I think we'll definitely see that.
At the end of the day, your question was, what do I think of them now? It's like, they look good.
Yeah.
They still have a long ways to go, just like bunkers, just like the rework in bunkers that they're doing. They still have a long ways to go from being a lively part of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But the pipeline that they're using to make them, and to make them quickly, and just like I keep hopping on, I've said in other episodes, right, where they're not just making the assets, they're making the pipeline that can sort of automate the creation of these assets,
Mm-hmm.
almost on a algorithmic method, right? And you can see that coming on board here, where, hey, they're going from 317, they have a few of them, to 318, and they're going to have a buttload of them, right? They didn't have a massive team doing that. They had a very small team doing that. They had a very small team using a built-in pipeline that made them probably in a few weeks, maybe a month. But the fact that they can make that many of them in a short time period on a skeleton crew that the PU has right now, that bite there speaks wonders, and that's what gets me excited about going forward.
From what I have seen, of CIG actually going through their asset library and just kind of plopping them down. It's almost as easy as drag and drop. Like they got their menu of assets, and all they got to do is click on it, and it applies it and connects everything together. The modularity. And
Exactly.
I think honestly, they could make, if they really wanted to, they could make a derelict in one day. Maybe a couple in a day, depending on how many people work on it, because they can just plop them down. They're all going to be kind of the same. They can have different variations of it, different layouts, and that kind of thing. But they're all going to look the same for the most part.
I don't think they're there for. I don't think they're there for the ship derelicts. I think they're there for like the outpost derelicts. I think they're there. But they're heading that same direction.
That's what they had. Well, that's what they showed off in their in the ISC, is that they had. They specifically said that they finished the library, and they were showing off the different conditions that the ships can be in. So
that was cool.
From newly,
for some of the ships.
Yeah, they don't have them for all. No, but they have. Actually,
they showed a 600i.
Yeah, and I'm sure they probably don't have too many ships on there, But as far as what they have now, what they got, maybe like five different ships, 6 different ships or something that's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But
Reclaimer, Caterpillar, 600i, and I think also the Star Runner.
Yeah, Starfarer and Freelancer. Yeah, maybe some others we haven't seen yet. So hopefully they expand on it. But to kind of go along with what you guys were saying, obviously right now, I think their primary objective is they want to fill in Stanton system, and I think to do that they're just trying to place as much as they can down on the ground. All these, they're trying to get just the basics of these locations down. And so that way, because there was another thing that they brought up in their ISC was that later on, they can always change them at will, so they can have, the various conditions that they're in. They can add habs to them. They can make them clean. They can make them clean, not just dirty like they're all are right now. So,
well, that's where they got they've been building assets.
Yeah.
So they can just drag and drop them.
Yeah. So, with each patch, they can go in, tweak 3 or 4, maybe even more, and, start cleaning them up a little bit, putting in these differences, And I think slowly but surely, each one will kind of have their own unique feel to it to a point. So I think there will be some of them. I think a low percentage will have, or will feel like kind of just like, oh, it's the same. But I think they will slowly go in there and tweak them to make them become their own unique little location. And I'm hoping to see that we see more clean outposts, because all of them are.
You know what I'm really hoping to see?
What?
I'm really hoping to see the outpost not just change as in like later development changing. I want to see outposts change based on what I interact with, how I interact with it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I'm a new player and I'm constantly, if it's a very, very small outpost, right? Just a few people with maybe a single family, or maybe it's just like a trading outpost. It's just a stop point for illicit cargo.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm sitting there trading with them back and forth over and over and over again, and I'm starting to work with them a lot, almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And I could have an impact on that base. All of a sudden, that base is more.
Oh wow!
Rich.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you'd have a hab thing pop up on one of my visits, right? All of a sudden, you have an expansion of it built up that the NPC says, "Hey, we're starting to get rich enough where we might could, be able to purchase a proper, pad, a proper landing pad, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't
Where
think of that.
these things that are being built in, they could be plug and play not just for development, but plug and play based on a sort of the background sim that CIG's been talking about so much. That could be on a very individual level down to the outpost.
Yeah.
Well, that's I agree with Zook on that, because if you can get the background simulator to run, okay, and just like Zook was saying, as time moves on, you'll see more development as it goes,
Hmm.
which makes it dynamic, and that's what we're looking for.
I think at the very least, if it wasn't going to do it on its own, have the ability to, obviously, if you're moving up the ranks within that certain faction, there'd be a certain point where you would be able to kind of dictate what kind of resources that you could buy for that specific spot.
Yeah.
Like as far as like the habs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you'd be able to, purchase it and kind of, it'd be like, I guess, a very basic form of making your own outpost, except
Base
you'd be limited.
building.
Yeah. So adding
Yeah.
habs, adding, maybe like a kitchen or something or a bar to, for morale
Yeah.
reasons and that kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's
But
really cool.
Yeah, but it's a progression of things. Say, okay, they ask you for a specific things that they need to build up that area. And you go out, okay, they contract you to do this. You go out, get it, bring it back, and you get paid. And then they start the construction to build these things. It would be an awesome way to build reputation as a cargo trader.
I completely agree. All right, so
That's my thought.
So moving on to the next question here. What would you guys like to see in the future when it comes? Well, we already talked about that, but is there anything specific that you guys would like to see in 3.19, or if there's going to be like a 3.20,
We'll see.
the whole.
Let's go to Mike. Let's go to Mike. He's got a thought.
Go ahead, Mike. You can be the first one.
Missions.
Yeah.
Like, to back this up from what Zook said earlier, missions. Give us a reason to go to these places.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same mission every time. Hell, you could give us a bunker style. You know how we have bunker style missions where we go attack bad guys. Well, give us a multi-stage mission or a single stage mission to where we go to a crash landing site or derelict or whatever, and you could be attacking bad guys. You could be trying to rescue somebody. See, nobody's done that one yet. Let's attack
I would
the bad
like
guys.
to see that. I would like to see that.
Attack bad guys. Uh-oh.
Sorry, that's a
No,
little loud,
but-
guys. Thank you, Ren, for subscribing. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Red.
All right, Ren.
Yeah, maybe there's a retrieval, or maybe there's a, destroy the ship. I would love to have a destroy the ship on the ground, because now that we have the state in 3.18 where you have your soft death state, allow us to blow it up to get rid of evidence, baby. Maybe that would be a thing. So I would love to see stuff like that. Expansion on missions. That's what I want.
But definitely, Mike, the thing is, I would love to see on a caterpillar site where you're going to rescue the crew, not just find them dead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That would be a good mission, and protect them from, invaders, people coming to steal the cargo and stuff like that. That would be cool. I would love to see that.
Agreed.
I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a leap either. Like you already have, you have the NPCs being able to use the surface mesh of a planet, with them being able to transverse, just like for the transport missions, with them being able to get on board a ship and then get off the ship. It wouldn't be that much more difficult to say, hey, you get down there, they're downed. You're not looking for a body, you're looking for an incapacitated NPC. You pick them up, and then they start moving towards the closest safe ship or closest safe vehicle to be in, right? And then you transport them back to safety. It could be, the combinations are really truly infinite here. But the most important thing I want to make ultimately is these derelict outposts and these derelict ships are beautiful, detailed stages, right? They're wonderful places for stories to occur on. Give us the stories there now. Like, well, not necessarily now, but like, give us the stories that we can experience while we're on that stage.
Yeah, but it's gotta progress to that. Yeah,
it's got to progress to that, and maybe we're not there yet. Maybe they're still working on the background sims, you know. But as far as what we want in the future, I'd want to be able to say, have a service beacon. Oh, we failed to save the ship. The ship goes, crashes. Okay, now next stage, since you failed the service beacon piece, is to land, rescue survivors, and protect the crash site while you evacuate the survivors.
yes,
Right? There could be sort of like a branching path of, this is the initial mission, and if you succeed, it goes this way. If you fail, it goes this way. Right? If you succeed, now you have to go chase the pirates that are doing the attack, or chase the criminals that are doing the attack. Right? And go turn them in for justice. Right? And
Justice.
anything you come across on the way gives the variety to that. Like, it doesn't, you not just go there, do simple task, and mission complete. It's go there, this is what's going on here. Try to intervene for the purposes of your benefactor. So if you are being hired by, say, Vaughn, you might want to help out the pirates. If you're being hired by Blackjack Security, you might want to be fighting the pirates, right? And your goals and the outcome of those goals could be different based upon the outcome. And what's really cool is the tools we already have in place should already be able to support this without much extra. If you see what I mean, like there isn't much extra as far as mission statuses that needs to be created for that to happen.
true, true.
All right. Well, kind of going from that, let's get into the next question here. I want to know from you guys, since PES is a new thing in 3.18, it's going to affect absolutely everything, and even in ways that we haven't even thought of yet. When it comes to PES and these derelict locations, how do you think, or what do you think are the implications of PES affecting these locations, starting with Shadow?
Well, with PES being in effect, whatever's destroyed on that at that outpost or whatever is destroyed. So it has to be rebuilt. And whatever is left there can be utilized as a material to make another.
Yeah, that would be really cool. The reuse of, blown up ships at these derelicts. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got it in there. We've all of us have played 3.18, and we've seen the wrecks. We've seen what is there. Being able to go back and salvage your own ship. Okay? So that is there. Now it just has to be implemented in another place, in another area. And that's probably going to take some time. I'm not going to rush that, but it'd be cool to see. My thought.
Okay. King, what are your thoughts on the implications of PES on these derelict locations?
So we got a couple of things we have to really think about when it comes to, and this is the developer mind here. So initially, I think all you're going to run into is things left behind and things that could be salvaged. Say for this next patch, like your ship blows up, it's there, and so you have to salvage it or something. You drop your gun there, it's there. I think down the road, what they should really aim to do is, if it's a derelict that's owned by NPCs, the NPCs would need to literally take the downed ship,
Tractor beams.
if you will. Yeah. Take the downed ship and use it to repair their their derelict. Reinforce things. And if they don't have enough, if they have too much material, they store it. That'll allow for gameplay for other players, or another player, for example, to come down and steal that loot. There's that option.
Or pay for it.
I feel like they could also have junkyards, and where maybe like if a player hasn't done it yet, to clean up that area, maybe there's an NPC that comes by, uses tractor beams and moves it to one of the junkyards on a moon or a planet or something, and then whatever's on there, whatever loot's on there, or whatever bodies or anything like that, if no one's done that yet, they could probably go to these junkyards and do whatever with them, depending on whether it's a restricted junkyard or not.
Okay, perfect example. Not to cut you off, Mike, but we got the salvage yards on the moons. We can take the stuff there, or you can get things from those moons. Just my thought.
Yeah.
Or you have a mission that these outposts will create to come salvage these wrecks for salvage gameplay.
Yeah, all of that. That's the implication PES will have. Yeah, definitely. It's more or less is the materials are left behind, and you have to utilize those materials for other things, such as repairing the base, or even if you destroy the base. And this is another thing we got to think about is, let's say, for example, a salvager comes along, and good point, Ren. Salvage.
That's good.
So that's I would argue that's the end goal, is allowing the materials left behind to be reused in some way, shape, or form. There has to be an output to that input. So that's what my brain goes to if I was in the development of it.
Yeah, that's the natural extent of the gameplay that I was talking about earlier about having that base being not necessarily a living environment, but you having NPCs that either own it, control it, or work there at it, and they want to keep it up. They want to maintain it. If no one's trading with it, maybe it falls into disrepair and it becomes a derelict, right? Maybe an outpost, if you're actively trading with it, you're actively repairing it, you're bringing goods to it, it becomes more wealthy and it becomes a proper station. It becomes a proper outpost. That's that you have the stages that go all the way from crash site all the way up to a potential station. Imagine, let's say you have a 600i, right? You're a player and you crash your ship on some planet somewhere. The game turns your 600i into a derelict crashed ship, right? And You don't reclaim it. No one does. You didn't don't salvage it. You come back 6 months later, and it's a small derelict outpost. And you come back 6 months later, and it's a basic outpost. Your ship became the core activity that turned itself into an outpost. Like you were literally setting it up where over time, where there was nothing, now there's an outpost, assuming there's a demand for an outpost in that area. And the determining factor on whether or not that becomes an outpost or not is whether or not it gets business or not. And if you are an org, you can make sure there's business there. That outpost would become your org's business.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe not necessarily owned, but there's a lot of versatility there that it could become. It could fall apart. It could degrade. It could become richer. It could become poorer. You know, it is. There's a lot there that could come from long-term persistence. That PES will bring, and sky's the limit. Imagination is the limit there.
You got a comment from Brandon. They have a real time than they have a mission to the
Oh man. But do you guys think that it should actually be NPC pirates or real pirates? Because that could be that could be a shitstorm. Shitstorm.
Here's the thing. I think that what we're missing right now is a lot of these missions that we talked about before about like the salvaging, China pirates, making fun of pirates. These things, these missions, potentially, if they work out properly, where there could be a mission for both sides of the mission.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everything we're talking here, whether you're on the legal side, the illegal side, gray side, whatever. There's missions you could create on both. Right? You could spin up a mission that literally says, hey, we need this comm satellite down. Right? And you have spin up another mission at the same time by Vaughn that says, at this time in 15 minutes, which is the timer that you give the other player that's bringing the comms down, we need you to be ready to attack this outpost. Right? And with the population of 100, that's really not viable that much. But if you have a server that's population is, say, 1,000.
Yeah, for the numbers they want to go, yeah.
Yeah, the 1,000, even on the super low end that they want to go to, 1,000 people per server with server meshing, right? 1,000 people per shard with server meshing, right? If they get to that, it would not be difficult to say, hey, we're spinning up a mission for Vaughn. That's going to be Vaughn, the mission giver, coordinates the satellite being brought down, coordinates the assault on the base, and also if the data runner collects that information, if they are tracking comm signal and they find this comm signal, they sell it to the local authorities for a profit, and all of a sudden the local authority says, okay, we're throwing a mission to stop it. There's a lot of push and pull there that will naturally come about from A, larger server caps, and B, just the ability for our actions to have consequences long terms, not just for us and our opponent, but for the world that we're existing in.
Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So before we go into the next question, I just want to throw out there to anybody in the chat. If you guys have any questions on any of these topics that we're talking about, just let us know by doing all caps question and then whatever your question is. That way we can see it better. So if you guys do have a question, we will answer it. But make sure it kind of sticks to the topics that we're kind of talking about. But going from there, our next question is kind of there's been some drama kind of lately when it comes to pyro and kind of the filling out Stanton with more locations and more things to do and stuff like that before they kind of finish Pyro. And I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on what you guys think about that in general, and how these derelicts and these other locations that's going on within Stanton. Do you think? How do you think that those new locations and the tool to make it is going to affect Pyro as well? At the same time, it affects Stanton. Shadow.
Well, they've been working on Pyro for a while, but they're also working on Stanton. And Stanton is the beginning area for players. To me, finish it up and get Pyro ready. At this point, Stanton is Stanton is the main area that every player is going to walk into.
Zook, I think you're muted.
I am muted, but I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, I thought you were talking. I thought you were trying to say something.
No.
And I saw your lips move, and I was like, "Oh, what?" Okay. Anyways, sorry about that.
Hey, Direwolf, welcome. I just think that Stanton should be completed due to the fact that this is the first place that people are going to walk into. You know? and get it done, move on to Pyro, finish Pyros. You know, they've got the foundation there.
Okay.
But I mean, that's just my thought. If you're going to put something out there, get your first area completed, and then move on to the next.
Mm-hmm. All right, King, your thoughts on locations in Stanton versus Pyro, and whether you think they should fill out Stanton first.
So here's my counter. I'm actually going to go against the grain here, Shadow. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Little drama. Ooh.
Little drama. Sorry. Let me mute this because somebody doesn't know what the word boundary means. So technically speaking, we have to have Pyro whether or not Stanton is done, because we have technologies that require the ability to go from one system to another while we're in this alpha state.
Okay. I'm thinking finished product. My bad.
You're good. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. This is something that I think that there's nothing wrong with that mindset, because technically speaking, you're right. They should be done with A before they go to B. However, because we're dealing with such a large game, because we're dealing with the kind of game we're dealing with, and because we're dealing with something that will inevitably fall in this infinite loop of iteration and constantly developing new things, then you will never be done with Stanton. That it's impossible to be done with any star system ever. But you can get to a point where it's flush and full of things, then you can move on. But because we're in this alpha state, and because there are technologies that require us, say for example, server meshing, or then jumping from system to system, that's another thing that has to be implemented into the game for the game to function. So I argue that technically the first area isn't Stanton, it's Stanton and Pyro connected via a wormhole.
Okay.
Because that allows traversal between the two systems, connecting them, and then you have two different types of star systems going on, and
Okay.
you can then see the dynamics that occur between those two things.
Okay.
So
I agree with you.
So yeah, Stanton needs to be a little bit more fleshed out. I would say that, yeah, these derelicts that are coming in, they need more missions, maybe a couple more dynamic things, a little more interesting stuff, and Pyro comes in. But with Pyro coming in, don't give us a barren Pyro. Give us
Right.
enough things in Pyro to do to make it interesting and a reason to go to Pyro, not just to go see the sights. You know,
Exactly.
as much as I love flying into planets in the game, I want something to do over there. If I got a trade mission, if I have to trade from, let's just say for argument's sake that Area 18 gets an order from somebody in Pyro, and I pull my Hull C all the way across the system, my rear end better be delivering something to somebody in Pyro to make some cash. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's my big thing. So
I totally agree.
Yeah, exploration cannot be the only reason to go over there because it's going to be dangerous and it's not going to be worth it in the end of the day, you know?
But you're right, Mike. He's right.
Yeah.
You gotta have something to go there for. And I totally agree.
And I want to jump onto that, actually. I want to add on to that.
Yeah.
What we're seeing here is they're not sitting here, when they're developing the game, they're not sitting here saying, oh, let's build some more outposts for Stanton. Let's build a wreck for Stanton. Let's build this for Stanton. They're building, again, like we said before, over and over and over again, they're building the tools that they're going to use to almost automate the building of these assets for every star system.
I was going to get there
for
too.
For Pyro, for Stanton. And what we're seeing in Stanton is the early versions, the V0, V1s of these tools, the output of these tools that are creating these assets, that are creating these outputs. So I'd be willing to bet a lot of AUEC and maybe even Satoshi's that when we see in 3.18 that there's 40 plus new outposts, I'd be willing to bet that team is also making those similar outposts in Pyro.
Oh,
I completely agree. Yeah.
That at the same time, using the same tools, Pyro, at the same time that Stanton is getting the rivers, the outposts, the derelicts, the crashes, I'd be willing to bet that Pyro is getting her rivers, her lava flows, her outposts, her crashes.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of let's finish up Stanton, get Pyro, or no, we need Pyro. Forget Stanton. Stanton's good enough, right? It's going to be a situation that they're creating the tools that is not just for Stanton. It's not just for Pyro. It's for Odin. It's for Nyx. It's for all these other star systems as well. That once they get to the point where they have PES in the bag, they have server meshing in the bag, they have dynamic server meshing in the bag, that these tools are ready to be deployed from the developer side to spin up these systems, to make these systems quickly, and potentially maybe even on the fly.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big pipe dream. Maybe one day, but
no, it's not a pipe dream.
I think currently they could probably, if they wanted to put out a patch like 2 days from now, I think they could totally put something in there with like another location, you know, and do whatever they wanted with it, or if they wanted to change anything with any of the locations, I think they could do it in a day.
Yeah. No, it's not a pipe dream, man.
You know, and imagine the situation where the biggest thing is they'd be creating a whole new star system, whole new planets with whole new cities and whole new outposts and crash sites and everything fully fleshed out. Potentially creating a whole new star system in a matter of months as opposed to a matter of years, right? And be able to deploy that very, very quickly and effectively, right? And what the most important piece is doing so not just quickly, not just effectively, but doing at the same level of fidelity that we have grown to expect from Stanton.
Agreed.
And I think that's the big thing right there is they are raising Stanton at the same time they're raising Pyro, and they're getting us used to the level of fidelity that they are expecting to do or give us in every other system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, that all those points is exactly what I was gonna say as well. The fact that people out there are kind of getting worried that they think that they're kind of shoving pyro off and not working on it at all until they get Stanton done. That's completely false. You know, it's just like you said. There's a reason why they're trying to streamline all their tools so that way they can get in there and make, you know, every location unique and being able to pump them out so that way we have something to do, you know, as fast as possible. And so along with, you know, whatever they do in Stanton, that is them building out the tools to be able to put all that stuff in Pyro. And I have no doubt that along with these patches that we see for Stanton currently, with all these new locations and stuff like that, these 40 new rivers that they put on there, they're applying all of these tools right now in Pyro at the moment. So by the time Pyro is ready for 4.0 and that comes out, I think we're going to have a lot of different locations to find and explore. But at the same time, I think the one thing I'm worried about is kind of what you guys were talking about earlier about Derelicts in Stanton alone, is that, you know, I'm a little worried that there might not be too much to do with those locations yet on Pyro. But I do think that whether there is or isn't, it's probably going to end up just getting more and more detailed as we get more and more patches. So,
well,
that's why I'm really looking forward towards the ISC for this week, because they're going to talk about. We talk directly with the mission team, the team that are meant to create those missions, and I hope they give a little more detail as far as the missions that's going to be going on at these sites, and hopefully they're already in the process of making those in a more automated fashion as well.
yeah, I think they are. It definitely sounds like that's the road that they're trying to take with pretty much all of their tools.
Well, like you said, they've been building tools for years. Okay, so now Turbulent has been flushing out outposts left and right. Okay, so Pyro, and I'm not saying that it's not being done. It is being done at the same time they're working on Stanton, but for a new player that walks in the door when we get Pyro, okay, they're going to have a choice. They can go to Pyro or they can go to Stanton. I see that coming. The first thing some people are going to want to do, oh, I'm going to go to the lawless system, right? So it's got to be like Mike said, it's got to have something to do there to make it worth your while going.
Yeah, because it's going to be dangerous, you know? So there has to be at least something there that makes it worth it, you know, even for the people that aren't really looking for too much danger, you know? I feel like it has to be enticing enough to get those innocent players to go and risk it.
That's just a thought.
And then that's why at the end of the day, I think the whole drama about which comes first, Stanton or Pyro, is basically pointless. It's a little bit short-sighted, maybe not intentionally, but just a lack of knowledge about how game development is doing and basically what they're building.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, if I'm being a little bit more aggressive, maybe miscommunication on CIG's part to the community, but you know, how much can you all really fault them for that? Not much.
And do we really need to know all of that, like what they're doing with Pyro or their reasons for
I got to
doing.
step away for a sec.
That's fine, man.
It would be nice to know that they're for them to focus on that they're building the tools.
Yeah.
So that when this topic comes up, that they're saying, look, we're not just building this for, this stage for this system. We're building these tools for all systems. If they included that line, maybe that would be able to make it a little bit more obvious.
They're really bad at kind of. I think when it comes down to it, they don't think like us, CIG, they have a different type of environment in where they work. So the way they think
like developers.
Yeah, I just think the fact that they don't think like us, they don't address, they don't say things in a particular way that helps us out. Usually they're thinking about what's going on with them in the moment, because a lot of these shows where they're commenting about what they're doing, they're still at work, Yep. So yeah. Oh man, time has kind of flied. we only talked about our first topic, and we're already an hour and 18 minutes in. So I know it's kind of funny because we wanted to keep it short today, but I feel like with us here, I think it's kind of impossible.
Yeah, we suffer from flappagillitis.
Yeah, we like to kind of go off the rails a little bit here and there, but hopefully it's enjoyable for people. Yeah. Oh, Shadow came back right in time with his Batman robe. All right, well, from that, moving on from the Derelicts in 3.19, we're going to go into the Lorville rework and kind of what they showed in the ISC there. To kind of give a little bit of a background on kind of what they touched on during that ISC, they were talking about how they've added more detail into the Lorville rework since they showed it off for CitizenCon. And essentially, they added, more emissives, which is kind of like, I guess you could say, kind of like reflections, kind of that helps with the lighting and how light bounces off of everything. They've added landing pads onto buildings. They're working on new pathways, trenches, tunnels, and they actually kept going with the pyramid designs that they have for Lorville, and they've made tunnels going through them that you can actually fly through. I thought that was pretty cool. And I saw that there was landing pads as well in the inside of those pyramids when you fly through them. So, but other than that, what they want to work on next is building interiors for Lorville. And they also noted that we're going to hear more in a couple weeks about it. So that's going to be pretty cool to see. But for the first question here to you guys, starting with Shadow, they said on there that Lorville is actually going really well and moving ahead pretty fast, and they think it'll arrive earlier than expected. Now, I want to know your guys' thoughts on when it could arrive, essentially.
Oof. How about if they're doing it quick and they're saying it's almost done? I think we're going to have a 320
or a 3.19 dot something.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we don't go to a 320, but I'd say it's a 3.19 dot or 320.
Okay. Yeah.
From the progress they're talking about they're making, that's pretty doggone quick from what we saw in CitizenCon.
Yeah, just from CitizenCon to now. I mean, it has been a little bit of time though, but yeah.
Yeah, but not that much. Not that much. What? CitizenCon was in October?
Yeah.
We're talking February now.
Yeah, it's almost 5 months.
Yeah. they're pushing. So
That's a good bit of
hey,
actually. That's a good bit of time to work on a rework of something. I think.
yeah. So
Especially if you're not, fixing bugs that you're looking at the content you're creating.
yeah,
If most of the bugs are being created by PES and you're basically free to create and you're be able to create without being interrupted or being pushed to the side, you can get a lot of work done.
You can.
And I'm not saying they're going slow. I'm not trying to imply that because they are making great progress and great speed, and it does look amazing. But yeah,
All right, King. The question
give me
was.
give me a sec, Joe. Hey, Rios, your question, we'll answer it afterwards, okay? But that's a 318 question. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, King. So the question was, what are your thoughts on Lorville kind of coming sooner rather than later, and when do you think it would come? Because they did make a comment saying that they think that Lorville is coming along faster than they expected.
Well, if they wanted to completely blindside the player base, it'll come out in 3.19. If they thought it was going to take them 2 years to develop, but really it's only going to take them half year to develop, we'll probably see it by July. And I think that's still being very
Optimistic.
Yeah, being very optimistic, knowing CIG. But hey, if honestly, if they said that it's getting done a lot faster than they thought, I can only take that as good news.
Yeah.
Lorville,
Agreed.
yeah, and I'm happy that they're doing it because it gives a fresh breath of
Ambiance.
existence in the universe. Ambiance is a good way of putting it too. It definitely how do I say, not uniqueifies, but
We can make up words here.
Yeah, all words are made up, Joe.
It's true. They're not real.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. I'm excited because it makes Lorville unique. I mean, it's an industrial city. It is kind of unique now, but like, just if you look at the concept of what they've shown, it's more Hurston. It more defines what Hurston is. I'm excited. Let's go.
All I think of is Blade Runner when I see Lorville. That's all I think of, and the way the
Zook was
Hurston.
shaking his head. So what is it?
Go ahead, Zook.
words are the means to meaning, and to throw that away is heretical.
Oh, no, I'm not throwing it away. I'm just saying all words are made up. It's a factual statement.
But go ahead, Zook. Your thoughts on Lorville possibly coming sooner than later, and when you think it would come?
I will take my advice that I would wish I could give to CIG and just shut up with the dates and the time periods and the time frames. It will come when it comes, and I don't care.
Okay.
To be frank.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I will say this. I will say this much. I think it looks amazing. I love the progress that they're making, and what I love the most is everyone saying this looks like Blade Runner. It's like whoa. Have you seen Area 18? Like it looks good. Have you seen the Area 18? Right. That place is Blade Runner, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what Lorville looks like to me yet. Maybe it's just a subjective thing. But regardless of what it will end up like or not, I think it looks absolutely astounding, absolutely amazing. I love the level of detail that they're going into in designing these things. The only thing that concerns me about this, the only thing that gives me a slight bit of pause is I want to see that the tools that they're using to make Lorville, are they looking to automate these larger cities as well, or are they making these cities by hand still? So are like basically are they going to be making every major city by hand in every star system that they come across, or are they building the tools to make it as automated as well? Um, I'm not sure, and based on the ISCs, I can't really see that. Maybe if I squint really hard, I can see that Montreal, the way they were building the hospitals, right? Making those almost automated where they can turn those around pretty quickly. Maybe there's some development automation background tool being created there that made it where Montreal could turn those tools around, or pump those hospitals out, in a relatively quick succession. Uh, I just hope they're not making this pure by hand, and all we're going to have is these four main star systems, these four main cities. Like I want to see more than just Lorville and Hurston. I want to see more than just Area 18 on ArcCorp. I want to see the same thing that they're doing for rivers and outposts. I want to see them doing that with these big cities too, and I'm just not seeing it in the same way. But that's a minor concern, to be honest with you. It's a very minor concern. Uh, Other than that, it looks amazing. I never thought I would say this, but I am definitely looking forward to visiting Lorville.
Yeah. It's I think to kind of sum it all up, I think we're all kind of starving for anything new in the game. So, at least for me, I'm always excited no matter what it is, even if I wasn't previously excited. Once it comes in game, I got to go check it out and try it out and that kind of thing. But that kind of goes into our next question. What was that? Oh, OBS is trying to reconnect. I hope the stream is fine.
It's good for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let us know if anything happens with the stream, if it gets disconnected or anything like that. Anyways, okay, going back into it. What do you guys think that the impact is going to be with coming from the Lorville rework? What do you think the impact to other planet-side locations is going to be in the future? Do you think that essentially this Lorville rework, because this is essentially the first rework of a major city that we've had, do you think they are trying to lay the groundwork for their tools to be able to apply this to, other star systems and other planets?
Yes.
Starting with Shadow.
I hope so.
Go ahead, Zook.
No, sorry. That basically, I already went into my thoughts on that. I didn't realize that was the next question. So
no, it's fine. It was great going in there. Yeah.
Yeah, as I said my piece. I hope it is. I'm not saying it. It would be hard to see because they are focusing on how good it looks because it deserves it.
Yeah.
Well, my thought, and definitely, it needs to be done. Like I say, I've only been in the game over a year, a little bit, and from what I've seen, the next place that needs to be reworked is ArcCorp. Now you're talking about a whole planet, not just a city. Okay, so those tools have to be spot on to redo ArcCorp.
They need to make all the assets for the individual styles of these planets.
Exactly.
And that's I feel like that's gonna be harder than just, what they're doing for, rivers and derelict outposts and stuff like that. It's not like it's just one ship. It's a whole city. Yeah.
This one's gonna be, Lorville's gonna be awesome. Okay? Don't get me wrong. But the tools that they're using for the Lorville rework, they've already got their assets for ArcCorp. They incorporate them, make them better, okay, and drop it. But it's going to take time. That's a whole planet you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and the last city that was made was Orison, and that's been what, over a year now. When was Orison brought in? 314, 313.
I don't remember. It feels like a long time, but I know it wasn't. It was,
It was.
honestly right
I
around the
think it
corner.
was in 2022. Yeah, I think it was 2022. Well,
Orison?
Orson proper. Yeah, they had the landing zone,
No.
but the Orson proper, including the platforms in the cities and everything. I think that was
It was just
still
the only thing
quasi
they've
recently.
added
No,
since the
it
major
wasn't
landing zone is just the
2022.
platforms. That's it.
It was 2021.
All
Yeah, it
right,
was
Ren. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
stopping by, Ren. I appreciate it, and thanks for the
care,
sub
Ren.
earlier. So hope to see you on the next episode, man. Thank you.
No, that 2021 was Orison, because it was already here in 2022.
August 6, 2021.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So that was 314?
Yep. And then at 316, it got expanded upon.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the last city that was put in Stanton. So now they go to Lorville. They build that up. I think the year before Orison was Microtech. So
Yeah.
our corp is definitely due for a rework. But like I say, it once Lorville's finished and it's polished and it's placed, they're probably already working on our corp. You know? Maybe I don't know how many people, but it's probably already being worked on. So I'm happy that Lorville's going to drop.
Okay.
I think it's going to be cool.
What about you, King?
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so the impact feature. So, planet side location. So, part of me, I'm 50-50 on this because I do think our Area 18 will get a rework eventually, but I don't think it's going to be as extensive as Lorville because, again, Area 18 was after Lorville. It will get a work up, but I don't think that's the major player in this topic. I think the major player is smaller cities. I think that the tools, with them streamlining those tools out the way they are, it's a very good chance you may see smaller cities start popping up on these planets. So you might have
Could
Lorville,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you might have Lorville, Hurston, and then you might end up with like, I don't know, what was the name of one of the kids? Agatha, I think, was the name of one.
Magda.
Magda. You might have the city of Magda, Hurston. You know, so there's a good chance that you might start seeing sub cities pop up and
Mhm.
roads, if they do roads anytime soon, between those two cities, and then that might start stretching out. Hell, we might see some of the smaller moons start getting small cities. We might start seeing places like Grim Hex getting a full rework. You know, I would
Mhm.
love if our lovely Levski would come back, but you know,
Well, that's a Nix,
I
right?
know.
Nix, yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually. But I think Area 18 will get a rework, but it won't be as extensive as Lorville's. But it'll be a lot of work for sure. But you may not see the entire planet get reworked. You may only see the city get reworked to a point to get more streamlined. And I think you might see more underground traveling with Area 18, I would argue. I think that'll be a
That
thing.
could be a thing. Yeah.
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 Well, it's just like we were saying in the last podcast that there are a lot of areas on our corp that you can fly to, but you can't do anything in there. So
Yeah.
eventually they're going to have to spot work on each area.
I think
You know.
I think what could happen too, on top of that, I feel like that whole planet, right, that's a doozy. That is a doozy. I don't know how. I can't even picture on how, even if they had the tech to kind of just place stuff around, the whole planet is just massive cities. And I can honestly see them maybe, if they were to do a rework on the planet, maybe do some sort of retcon with like the lore, and then the whole planet might not be one big ass city. You know, it could be sectioned off a little bit more, and maybe you actually have more of the planet that you can kind of see see more of the ground, I guess, and but still be heavily industrialized by, not industrialized, but have these dense cities and stuff still, but just not be as dense as it is now. But Zook, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it has to be that dense. Like you don't have to backtrack away from making it a planet-wide city, because every single building doesn't have to be explorable. You don't
No.
have to be able to land
Mm-mm.
outside of everything. So if they build the tools to make a building that you can visit indistinguishable from a building that you can't, the city will feel lived in. The city will be lived in.
Well, I'm not saying that everything has to be walk-inable, but you know, still have some life to it where we can walk around on the deck.
That also goes into our next question too, guys. Building interiors.
Yeah, I'm not saying. You like my segues?
Yeah,
no,
they're great.
I'm not saying that's what you were saying, Shadow. What I'm driving at is, I don't think Area 18 needs a rework quite yet.
No.
But ultimately, it comes back around to how much of the tools are they building to automate this process. I want, like Payne, I want other cities. I don't want there to be a single capital city and then a bunch of outposts. I want to see a variety of cities. I want to see a variety of
I'll be right back, guys. Give me 1 second. But you guys keep talking.
Yeah.
I want to see a variety of these things, and the only way you can effectively achieve that is to be able to make it in a quasi-automated way. And I hope they're doing that. I hope I'm seeing a automation in how they create the transit system. I hope they have an automation in how they create the landing zone. I hope we're seeing automations in how they're making the hospitals, right? I hope we're seeing a lot of these automated systems coming into play that's causing the speed of creation of these assets to come in so fast, right? That's what I'm hoping. That I'm hoping we're seeing.
Yeah.
And they're not showing as much of the background and the development of it, so I can't feel confident in saying that I know this for a fact.
Well, nobody knows.
But yeah, but if they achieve that, then it should be relatively seamless to incorporate a built up city into any point on ArcCorp. It would be easy to have a different landing zone on ArcCorp. It'd be easy to say we're building another platform on Orison. It'd be easy to say over in Pyro, hey, there is one city, or there's a city in Nyx, or there's a city in Odin.
Okay.
Just have that, and that's, without going to the next topic, I would like them to show the tools that they're creating, creating these buildings.
Okay,
because
perfect
without
example.
Seeing, go ahead.
The Orson platforms, the Vision Center, those weren't there.
Right, but the thing is, they're not talking about, like, where are they on the tools that makes these buildings for each of these cities. They're not telling us how far along this tool is, how, they're not letting us know how fast they can actually make cities now,
Yeah.
we don't
I get it.
know if it's going to take them months to make a new city on a planet or a moon, or if it takes them a couple weeks.
Yeah, but
We
okay.
we
Orson
we
Orson dropped in 21, right?
Mhm.
So look at the time that it took to bring in those platforms. Now, they were working on other stuff in between the time that those dropped. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they can do it in a hot minute,
Well,
but I'm just saying it takes time to do these things. And yeah, I would love to see the tools, just like Zook is saying.
I think my thoughts on it are this. I from what I've seen so far, it seems like they have the assets to be able to expand upon Lorville and Orison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as that, I think they would need to do a rework like on Area 18,
Yes.
and um, you know, I don't know if we haven't seen anything from Microtech on whether that's still. I feel like it's old
That's
enough to where
because
they.
no. That's because Microtech was the first gold standard city.
Oh, was it? Okay, well there
Yeah.
you go then. So
Whenever Microtech was built, it was the first one that was built up to the standard that Lorville's being built up to today.
so realistically, then they should have the assets they need to expand upon Microtech, Orison, and Lorville.
Yes.
So Area 18 would be the last one, and so kind of going from there, they probably could pump out, some other locations for the planets coming
Yeah.
along. That shouldn't take too long, at least from when I think about it. Yeah,
Theoretically, if the tools are in place.
Yeah.
But they have to have that.
The
The question is, do they have the assets ready to go or not, or are they still building upon it? Do they still need to make more? So
I think they have assets to drop something on Hurston if they were going to do it. That way, when the roads come, just like Mike said, and there should be something that they could drop in to add to Hurston.
something else that we know too, is
the
that
Rastar tool.
they are looking at expanding these like the Orson missions. They're trying to get those kind of missions on those platforms on all of the major planet side landing zones.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to make those locations too. So
yeah,
they're working on them now. So if they can do that, then they definitely have the assets they need to probably expand.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Zook. I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
No, but yeah, it's not going to take as much time as it was to do the Lorville platforms. I think they got those assets set. So when they go to the next place and they've already, they're redoing Lorville, those assets are there. So they can make another landing area on Hurston, and we'll be able to either drive to it or fly.
Okay. Yeah. Zook, did you have anything else to say? I don't know if you got a chance to finish.
I know I harp on the tool a lot. With cities, I'm a little bit more lenient on not seeing the tools yet. I don't think they're done yet with it.
I don't think so either.
And the reason why I say that is the tools to create a city and the variety you need to create a lived-in city, a city that looks like it's being lived in, right? It's a little bit different than the tools it takes to build an outpost, a ship, the crash site.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. So like I hope they're making the tools, and I wish they would clarify it, and I think just to be on my conscience so that I can feel better about it, right? For my own personal reasons. But I
Yeah.
think they are. I think they are. And I look forward to seeing minor cities being delivered, but I still think we're a long ways away from minor cities being delivered. I think we're still a ways off from that.
I feel exactly the same as you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
it
they
makes
say anything different here soon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they have them all in place. I'm just saying that they're probably in the stages of using those tools and setting up something that we don't know.
Mhm.
It could come, you know, within the next year. We don't know because nobody's saying anything.
I think we're gonna get a good. I think we're gonna get good surprises this year. Throughout the year, when it comes to locations, regardless of where they're at, I think we're gonna get some pretty cool new places to check out.
Mike's thoughts.
What?
No, I think we covered that whole thing.
Oh.
I'm itching for the next question.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
This
You were scratching, so that's why I was like.
It's like, come on, man. Next question. Next question. Yeah. Okay. So next question, right? So we're going into building interiors. I want to know you guys' thoughts on what building interiors in Lorville will kind of include. Like, how detailed do you think they will be? What you're going to be able to do, and kind of talk about what that means for future missions for Lorville. And yeah, go ahead, Shadow.
I look at it like this. How do we sponsor the space on Mike's cap? Hey, lawyer. That's lawyer.
Shadow's got a Patreon. Go ahead and subscribe to that.
This should
And
be my Patreon.
tier 2 on his Patreon will get you a sponsor on Mike's hat.
Okay.
My forehead is also open for sponsorship, just so you know.
Yeah. Dude, I got a 5 head too, man.
Oh man.
I need to get a haircut and then I'll be able to be in the same league as you guys.
All right, let's not go there. Okay. Anyway, building interiors. I mean, from what we've already have, they're amazing. I can't wait for the Chairman's Club to open on Auguste Dunlow
Everywhere? Everywhere has them. Essentially, all the major landing zones have them.
Yeah. I want to see those open. I mean, they're detailed enough right now for what we have, and it's going to get better. It's just got to take time. Let's get the other things squared and then move to those. But
I'm talking about Lorville in particular, right? So
Lorville,
they're trying to get them incorporated into the Lorville rework, so that way, when we go there, of course they're trying to do that so they can incorporate missions into them, and so you can go in, explore, and have a purpose of going in there.
Okay.
But
I think that it'll be a great thing because that means we can go talk to NPCs, get missions, actually talk to somebody besides what's his name? The guy at the admin office on Hurston.
Oh,
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to go to more places to get more things to do. It's gonna come. I can't speculate too much because I'm still learning a lot of the game. There's so much that I have not done yet that I'm still learning something every time I play.
Mhm.
So that's what makes it exciting for me, that I'm still learning even after a year. So building interiors, more things to do, more NPCs to interact with. I'm good with that.
Do you think there should be building interiors that just for the sake of interiors and not really have anything going on there? So like just like an empty office building or anything like that?
No,
No.
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 I'd rather have a purpose to go there.
Okay. All right. What about you, King? Your thoughts on building interiors for the Lorville rework?
No, move on. No, okay.
Makes it simple.
Yeah, no. So I don't know if this is going to be the envisionment, but I envision something like GTA or Night City, where you have some building interiors, and you can only go into so many of them. The bulk of your gameplay is going to be in outer space, or trade stations, or derelicts, or missions, all sorts of stuff like that. I don't think I don't think having too many. I think that you should only have a limited amount of buildings you could enter, and maybe there are a lot of replicated buildings. So, like, say for example, there's a building for a mission that you go meet the CEO. You know, you only have 2 levels you actually have to do. You have to walk into the main place, check in, take your elevator all the way up. There could be that. There could be another scenario in which you're going into a shopping center because you're going to buy new clothes, you're going to buy new armor, you're going to buy new weapons, or you enter a building that's a shipyard and you go in and buy stuff from there. Like say Dumpers Depot gets like a whole platform out next to the landing zone at Lorville.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and then you can buy scrapped items from Dumpers Depot that way. That's where like say a Hull C or a C2, or I'd rather say a C2 comes in and just drops off a bunch of components. Says, "Here you go, buddy," and unloads right there.
That'd be a reason to have roads going there too, so that you can go there in a ground vehicle or something.
Yep, exactly. And so I think that some building interiors are needed, but don't overload it, don't overdo it, because we cannot afford the performance hit that's going to come with every building.
Agreed.
Don't do it. Oh, so
you don't think that it wouldn't like if you were outside of a building, right? The interiors just wouldn't be loaded into the game until you walk through the door, or right before you walk through the door, within a radius, certain radius, right? Like maybe you fly up to a building,
right.
Maybe only a couple of the buildings in that radius, the interiors would pop in, and you wouldn't notice that until you walk in, right?
No, well, you wouldn't until you wouldn't, but the memory in use would. And it's not just your
okay, I gotcha.
performance.
Yeah.
It's not just your performance you got to worry about. It's the server performance you have to worry about.
It makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
I didn't really think of that.
Glad you mentioned GTA, Mike. SC does the stripper joints too.
Oh, I can see it.
Space people have needs.
I can see it.
Oh my god. Lawyer, you're bad.
GN strippers are gonna be fucking
So
on point.
I want to hop into here for a second.
Go ahead.
It's your turn, Zook. Go ahead.
I want to see building interiors, right? Because it makes the city feel more lived in. But I don't want there to be interiors for no purpose, right? I don't want there to be a strip mall just to have a strip mall. I don't want there to be office buildings just for office buildings, right? There could be a lot of reasons why you would want to go in there. There could be hacking gameplay where you have a mission to break into a company office building that and steal company information and go sell on the black market. There's a lot of things that they could do. They could have an org buy an entire block of ArtCorp and have an org be able to rent out habs to members of the org, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that they could do, but I don't want interiors for the sake of interiors. Uh,
You have a
and
purpose.
yeah, I want a purpose, and I want not just a purpose, but a cool purpose, a
Yeah.
gameplay functional purpose that makes me say, in a very similar vein, that I'm playing the Star Citizen, I'm sticking near a station, I'm sticking near a planet, because my activities, there's enough to do there. I want there to be enough activities in these interiors to where where I'd be willing to say, I want to stay down here for a little bit. I don't necessarily need to take off yet,
Mhm.
right? Right? There's a lot of infiltration stuff. There's a lot of looting, a lot of hunting, bounty hunting. You could have bounty hunting, first-person shooter mode, right? You're going through the cities and different restaurants where there's just a lot of people there,
Mhm.
right? There's a lot of things that could be done there. I want gameplay. I don't just want a shopping kiosk. I don't
Right.
want just a trading kiosk.
Yeah.
I I want gameplay down there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, as far as what Payne said, I'm not overly concerned about server performance, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
Because a lot of times the time it takes to go from part of the city to the next part of the city, they already have the goal of having server meshing to where that transition, you're being handed off to a different server. So there may be a situation where just like an entire bunker could potentially be its own server if you have enough people there. An entire office building could be its own server if you have enough people there. Uh, so
I kinda
I'm
run
not
it on.
overly concerned with server performance in that regard, assuming they build it right and assuming server meshing works.
Mm.
But again, the end of the day, I want to have gameplay there.
This is where CIG really needs to figure out what they want to do in the future with building interiors. How much more complex do they want to make it before they start putting them in now? Because yeah, it could be a disaster trying to, upgrade all this stuff later on if they didn't get it right.
So I'm gonna counter on you, Zook, a little bit here. You and I both know that in the world of technology, there's always going to be a bottleneck. I don't care how complicated your system is, there's always a bottleneck. CIG's biggest bottleneck will be their network in any way, shape, or form. So not only are they streaming that to you, but they're streaming that to everybody else too who's in that room. And so eventually what's going to happen is the density of that room may get so bad that the bottleneck will be the network going into that room. The more players there are in that specific room, the more streaming is occurring at once. So my argument is that I don't think that overall the system, like if I'm outside the building, I don't think I'll have a problem. But if you have 1,000 buildings like that, your system's network has got to compensate. And there is only so much of a bandwidth. Right.
But each building could be its own server.
That's the server in of itself. The network, the fiber, the Ethernet fiber connecting these things, physical layer only has so much bandwidth to stream that. If you have 1,000 players in one building, that's going to bottleneck that network. So they're going to have to scale.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they're going to have to scale properly to meet that need. And knowing CIG, that's who the bank is.
I don't think it'll be as hard as you make it out to be. For starters, on a day-to-day event, right? We already did a play test where almost an entire server of 120 people hopped onto an 890 jump.
Mhm.
Right?
I was there.
And and he was there.
Yep.
And my understanding it was very smooth. You couldn't tell the difference between a regular game in that moment, right? Was my understanding.
When they I don't know about now,
right?
but when they first did it, it was very choppy, and you run into anybody, it really messed some people up.
Desync was
It
bad.
did.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Everybody had to walk slow.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so another thing to think about here as well is I work at a job for my day job that uses Amazon EC2 instances for a portion of their what we do. Okay? They are not fast at scaling by any means at all. This is where the major bottleneck's going to come into play. Those things are great because they can scale and you can help predict when they scale, but they still are not fast in coming up. And I'm saying that if you have too many buildings occurring that have to spin up their own server, it's going to just eat the bandwidth point. It's going to eat up resources. That's it.
And then the other point that I was about to drive into was, let's say even if there is a limitation or hard limit on how many people can be in a building, how many people do you really need in a building? How many people?
Yeah.
If you're doing an interior office space meeting or infiltration, how many people are you really going to have invade a bunker? How many people are you really going to need in a shopping mall, right? And a lot of times, like the trade center at Lorville or Microtech or wherever else, the terminal that takes you to it could very well take you to a different terminal. There could be more than one trading post, right? So there would be ways of keeping that number down at a localized location like that. And yeah, that would be concerning. I was under the impression that was a little bit more smooth. Maybe I was told, or maybe the videos made it seem. But who knows?
Yeah.
There's ways of keeping people from saying 1,000 people inside of the same room. There's ways of preventing that. And
you'd spin up a new instance at that point if you hit like a certain number of people, and
yeah,
you could predict that. Like I said, like with us, it's phone calls. So like if you predict a connection coming in and you start seeing 50,000 connections hitting at one time, you're like, oh God, I need to spin up. And then it'll take forever, but eventually all those people will filter into the room because it'll just load in. It'll probably take an hour, but the other thing to think,
a lot of times with Star Citizen as well, you're kind of gonna get a little bit more of a heads up, right? Because not only like let's say you're looking at the trade center, right? Okay, how many people do you have in there? How many people are on the elevator taking the next tram to that trade center? So you could assume every one of them hops off. Okay, well, is that beyond the limit? Okay, expand it. Okay, do we need to expand one or do we need to expand two? Okay, how many people are at the ASOP terminal at the starport ready who, if everyone chose to go in, is there enough room? Like okay, how many people's flying into Lorville? How many people's requesting landing? How there's a lot of steps that create a lot of time in between you deciding do you want to go there and you going there, that it has a lot of room to adjust to the fact that you are going there.
Yeah, and that'll fall about that radius that players have.
So
that player beacon is. Yeah.
Yeah, and likewise you have the same kind of situation with office buildings, with player hubs for player hangars. You have the same concept and that same delay in time. And just for the sheer act of transporting yourself to that location, that will create that window that will allow them to spin up. So like I said, I'm not overly concerned about scaling so long as they get server meshing in.
Yeah.
If they can get server meshing in, that will solve the vast majority, not all, mind you, not all, majority, but the vast majority of their scaling issues.
Yeah, and I want to make a disclaimer before we move on here. The disclaimer is I'm not making the assumption that it will be bad. I'm just saying that in worst case scenario, it's consideration that everybody has to have.
I'm glad you guys talked about
Completely
all
agree.
that because I'm not savvy in that department, so it's always interesting just for me to
Nerd.
listen to you guys about that.
Nerd.
Okay, so moving on from that, our next question will be so going back to Lorville, right? Lorville has a lot of industrial equipment kind of in the landscape along with it, right? Do you think that it's ever going to actually be anything usable or anything like, are we going to see them actually transferring cargo around, ground vehicles, kind of, like forklifts and stuff like that, picking things up? Do you think or do you think it's going to stay static in the future? Go ahead, Shadow.
No, I think we need some life.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're talking about a city, okay? City has to have life. Things have to move. Things have to be make it look like somebody's living there.
Mhm.
That people going from their job to the hab to wherever day to day. You got to have life. If you don't have life, the thing is dead. It's not. No. It's got to have something.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Okay. What about you, King?
I could see a use for it, especially new players who don't really have a whole lot of money. They could do jobs, like missions or jobs on site at, say, Lorville, to say move containers or munch some scrap or something, or something of that nature. Something that allows them to actually use vehicles to do things. I mean, hell, we got a mule. Drop the mule. We got mining equipment. Use the mining equipment to cut things up. We got hull scraping stuff. Yeah, I think it would be really cool to have industrial jobs to get money to fund your space flying addiction.
It's crazy how this, it starts off as a space simulator and then works its way into being a simulator of everything at some point.
Where's my house paint? Please, I want to.
It's going to be House Flipper, but in space.
But in space.
It's going to be, yeah, I don't know.
Simulator in space.
It's too much to ask for a lime green robe. Okay, I'm saying.
Saying lime green.
Well, what about you, Zook? Going into you, what do you think?
It could go either way. I hope it's either pure set dressing with maybe some level of repetitive or randomized movements that make it look like it's alive. Or it could go the way that Payne was saying, where you have jobs for new players, low players, bored players, people who just want to take it easy, right? Sometimes you just want to chill out and listen to a podcast while you're moving boxes back. Some people like that, right? And I'm not overly concerned with that right now, unless they make it into a gameplay mechanic, in which case it would basically be a mini game. And for the amount of development that's required for this game, the set dressing, it can wait. Mini games can wait. I'm not overly concerned with it at the moment. I think it'll end up being one of those two, but I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they said or have given any hints.
They always talk about the different kinds of roles that you could potentially have in the future, but it's always just thoughts, and I feel like
I had a thought.
What?
What happens if you were hired as a maintenance person, as a mission, to go fix a fuse box in a mule that's out in the yard?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, right? But think about. Sorry, hold on. Think about.
That'd be a great engineering certification mission.
Okay, well, here's the thing, right? I feel like there's
Okay.
there's other primaries that they need to get done first. I feel like we need, we need pyro in out and a couple other things first before they start putting little tiny jobs like that and start filling in more missions given to that with the associated gameplay.
Completely agree.
Because I think we need the main gameplay loops all in. Because CRG already has so much on their plate. They have completely overcrowded themselves. That's the reason why it takes so long for everything to come out, and they have no control over it now. They because they're dedicated to giving us what they promised, right? And it's just overcomplicated right now. So, it just is.
Would you be happy if that was just window dressing?
What do you mean?
If it so the two main options that I could see it being is either automated object that's moving off in the distance that simulates the feeling of that
Oh.
area being alive and active,
Mm-hmm.
or you actually have the ability for players to go down there and do things down there.
I personally would be happy.
If it was just window dressing, would you be happy with that?
Yeah.
And why?
Oh yeah, I'd be happy with it. I think because with given all the promises that CIG have wanted to give us and hopefully eventually will, I think if we get those, there's going to be plenty to do between the star systems, that you wouldn't necessarily need all of that. Like that's all like I feel like bonus. Like it's stuff that if we ever did get, that's great. And I would absolutely love it if we got that. But if we didn't at the same time, I would completely understand. And I'd be like, yeah, sure. Okay. Just to make it look believable, make it look like you were saying before, make it look lived in. I want to see things moving. I want to hear comms chatter. That's the one thing. I'm playing freelancer right now, and there's a lot of comms chatter when you're flying around. So you kind of get that global ambience of what everybody else is doing. It's fake, but I would love that, along with ships flying. When a ship is is asking for permission to land, I want to be able to hear that from other ships. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I would be totally cool if it was just window dressing. I get plenty of that from single player games as it is, and I love it. So it doesn't do any wrong for me. Along with that, so we have finished most of our questions, and I'm not going to ask any of the other questions because we're almost at 2.5 hour mark at the moment. I think we've gotten the important questions down, and if I didn't get to the other questions, it's because also I think we touched on most of them already as well. So with this, if anybody has any questions they would like to ask us from the chat, let us know. We'll do our best to answer them. And then on top of that, while the chat is coming up with those questions, we'll go ahead and go into our final thoughts with everything. Go ahead, start with Shadow. Do you have any final thoughts on anything that we talked about?
No. Basically, everything that we've talked about, I'm happy with. It's just that we all want to see something come to fruition, and that's the main thing. So I'm good with what we talked about tonight. I don't have any issues or
Fair enough.
major things that I've got to say. I'm happy.
Okay.
Right now with things. I just want to see fruition come with what we're going to be dealing with for this year. That's the main thing.
What you want them to make good on the things that they've
Yes.
essentially came out with on the letter of the chairman?
No matter how long it takes. No matter how long it takes.
Okay. Oh, I got you. Okay. What about you, King? Do you have any final thoughts?
Blind. Sorry.
God, the whole screen went right there.
Look, I'm Irish. I'm not that Irish. I have two things to say. Yeah, I love all this theory talk right now. I think that some of it can become to fruition, and I do see it coming down the line. I know CIG is going to get through with what they get to get through with. I'm still a space nerd at the end of the day. I mean, concierge hat, not trying to rub it in on everybody. That's how nerdy I am about it. I'm so excited for the future of this game. I know it's painful waiting, but guys, you got to let them work it out. Let them work it out. Let them get better at it. And secondly, I think we need to change the phrase emotional baggage to grief case. Yeah, I'm done.
All right, Zook, what about you?
I feel like I had a good conversation about these different topics tonight. I feel like we need to be careful theory crafting a lot of this stuff ahead. I'm a little bit more comfortable with it right now because 3.18 has taken so long, and we have been such a long time in a content drought.
Yeah.
That we can we're seeing the tools that they're using that they're making that they're going to use to make content, and we can talk about what could come of those tools. And we've been in a content drought that we just don't have much to talk about things coming up, next week or next month.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they did announce something about 3.19 tomorrow, right? Okay, when is 3.19 coming? Is that even going to come out this year? We don't know, right? So I can understand a little bit more, but we have to be careful. I can understand a little bit more about doing that right now, but we have to be very careful that we don't get our hopes up during all this theory crafting topics. Like this is us talking, this is us warning, this is us players theory crafting. This is not CIG saying this. This is not CIG making these announcements. And I think it's fun to do, but we have to make sure we keep it in context.
Oh yeah, anybody listening to us talking about some of our theories here, none of it's confirmed. So don't act like we got it from something we read from CIG or something, so.
Yeah, the only inside source I have is the next 4 ships released will all be Auroras.
Yeah, that's
Get out.
Only confirmed.
Get
Only been confirmed at this moment.
Get out.
4 unannounced ships. There you go, guys. 4 unannounced ships from CIG are, in fact, Aurora variants.
All they do is shoot one laser apiece.
Okay.
You can never reload them either.
All right, gentlemen. I've got a live stream to do in PTU, so let me know what's up. I'm all good.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and end it. So this is our first live stream for the podcast. So I appreciate everybody who has come in, chat with us. Just watched. These will for now on be on the Snowbirds Meeting Room YouTube channel, which is in the link in the description below. Definitely subscribe to that and check it out. We have these episodes every week, every Monday or Tuesdays, depending on what happens. And we always talk about Star Citizen and the relevant topics within that week or two. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye, everybody, and we'll catch you all in the next episode.
Thank you for coming.
Ciao.